Alrighty, sitting number 2, where we have maybe a week and a half, a little less than 2 weeks, something like that. Since the first sitting, all the outline seems to be healed up pretty good. I'll just start going in and pounding in some black at this point. There's obviously plenty of space to fill up, so figure we might as well get into it, see what we can accomplish today. See how long we can get her to sit and take it from there. So we're going in with some 11 curved mag needles. Looking at the original picture, there's really a lot of darkness, but it's soft at the same time. And so I was looking to use a needle grouping that was gonna push the ink in relatively quickly, because obviously we're covering a pretty large area, but at the same time keep the shading nice and soft and delicate. So with the 11 curve mag, Cam Supply actually puts these out. They're using the number 12 sharp long taper needles on these. It just gives me less of a stippling effect than your standard number 12 sharps that I might use for color work. Right now we're just in on the black part, so I'm going to treat it as though it's dark black and gray and work on it from that angle. And unfortunately, this is the part of the process in an extremely large project where sometimes both the artist and the customer can tend to get a little frustrated, because you'll spend a lot of time working on something, and by the time it's finished, you'll spend 2-3 hours on something, and you'll look at it and you won't feel like you've made much progress, because it really, you know, you get talking about a full back or whatever, such a large area to cover that even if you do a lot of work, it's still just a small kind of a percentage of the overall that needs to be completed. So this is where you kind of try your patience as both the tattooist and the client, you know what I mean? Especially when the client is paying by the hour for some of the larger pieces. It gets a little tough for them to sit, you know, hour after hour, and then they get up and look in the mirror and it's not quite as much done as they thought it was going to be in that particular sitting. But that's why not everybody has one of these, because it's a larger commitment than what people tend to think. You know, you'll watch a TV show and they'll knock out a whole sleeve in an episode, and it'll be, you know, 45 minutes worth of actual talk time plus commercials, and it's like, oh wow, you can get a sleeve knocked out pretty quick. And so people get the impression that you really can accomplish that, and you maybe can, but then, you know, what are you sacrificing? Are you sacrificing the work quality in order for speed? Not to mention, you know, some things you're just not going to go but so fast on anyway, no matter how fast you are. So it ends up being a test in patience and endurance, and, you know, it's not so much the pain, it's just exhausting to lay there and have to concentrate on sitting still for those extended hours over and over again.
How do you decide like where you want to start at?
Well, I obviously started with the outline first, just so that, you know, no matter how many sittings it takes and no matter how long we go for each stretch, when we get back into it, I'm not trying to match up stencils or trying to freehand parts in that were missed. And then I tend to try to go from the darker colors to the lighter colors. In a situation like this, it's not as important, because you can kind of, you know, you can jump around if you need to, and maybe at some point we'll just work on the birds or whatever. But to start out with, I just wanted to knock out a little bit of this black. By the time we make it into the color work, you know, we should have a pretty good feel for what the depth is going to be like, because most of the black will be taken care of. A lot of times, you know, we'll get started on something and then we'll start working on a section as opposed to a color. So it's like, you know, what I'm kind of doing now is I'm working on the black, but I'm working on the black as it relates to the branches and the leaves of the trees and whatnot, and possibly going into the darker feathers on the cranes as well. We'll see how far we get in this sitting. So what I'm doing here is I'm trying to cut in around these kanji. Kanji were already there prior to figuring out that this was the direction the back was going. Fits in pretty good subject matter wise. What I'm probably going to do is I'm going to go right up to the edge of them, but not touch them with the shading and the color. I don't know, maybe some of the some of the really light tans and stuff as we get in there. I might use that to separate out some of the darker shading from the kanji and try to just, you know, kind of blend it all in as though it was part of the painting. We'll see as we go. You know, I don't want to cover them up because, you know, they do fit, and obviously they were there. They had a purpose for being there to begin with. And, you know, they really do kind of fit the theme. So artistically, it's not going to ruin the piece. See if we can keep them and just make them work.